Nossa, não sei, rapaz. Samba não tá. Lá, ó. Hum, Are you ready?
Unless we give the pages, we have some new people that won't know the page. So page 2.
Bo jung de de je se wa na jo bo yang do bo zo pe san ye re ba to sha su de ba de wa le she wa ji de je je wu du le pa lo di lo la na de bo wa de de no ke mo san ye jo le de le yo wa de do ya do je
to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one God beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, to God the Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaikya clan, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. When, as supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the vast Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The soul of your heavenly completion, and found you having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one God, the thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realm, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also feel the path of liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, are devoted to the moral precepts. You, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. So do your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A flaming mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the whole of false, and be delivered from some through the ways of aging, sickness, and death.
Baba Gujo Mata Dalo Dige Lagi Tonga Diji Na Chode Yebu Ga Jago Bumbo Lagi Lonje Giru Chembo Da Chanju Sembe Giru Chembo Da Pala Jiru Jude Di Ze Chonde De Samo Na Jeja Chege Na Tenge Zela Nyobra Shudo Ya Di Ze Jago Sembo 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 Chere Anju Shera Di Baro De Shemba Samo Cheba Nila Namara Dashing Bongo Mabode Damaya Rajingi Lomba Nambara Tao Tene Sati Gitu Sedan Dembo Sheri Anju Sembo Sembo Jembo Oba Chere Anju La Digi Meso Ziji Pu Kala Chere Baru Samo Cheba Cheba Duba De Shedara Labara Cha Digi Meso Anju Sembo Sembo Jembo Baba Chere Se Anju Ji Sedan Demba Shari Dadi Bula Digi Meso Shari Pu Riji Bomo Kala Shari Baru De Shembo Samo Cheba Cheba Duba Dida Namba Dawa Chade Bomo Mabba De Dada Yang Rashingi Namba Yanda Bara Jesu Tao Domba Domba Ni Zuzo Ule Domba Ni Shemai Domba Nile Kyan Suji Mai No Deshen Du Zora De Shi Dan De Shi Nambara Sheba Nanda Shari Bo Dena Tuba Domba Ni Tenye Meba Majeba Magaba Jima Meba Jima Danja Chiwa Meba Kama Meba Shari Bo Jeda Wena Domba Jila Sume Suwa Me Bishi Me Bishi Nambara Sheba Me Bime Na Name Cheme Lume Ime Sume Name Cheme Gome Cheme Do Viji Kame Bani Ige Kame Ige Nambara Shebe Kanji Bado Yame Do Mariba Me Mariba Seba Ne Kashi Me Kashi Sebe Bado Yame Do Tunge Wada Gujo Wada Wadan Dame Yishil Me Doba Mato Bayan Medo Samba Doba Mebe Sheraji Barudo Chimba La Teji Nede Sema Chiba Me Prabha Mede Chinje Lole Shindu Dene Nyange Le Tara Chindu Tuzundu Nambar Shubhe Sanje
Daji Ganshera Givara Dujamba
La Dene Lanara Meba Yanda Sobe Judu Mombara Zobar San Jesu Dona Shero Je Paru Du Chimbe Ma Riba Chimbe Ma Lana Mebe Ma Mijan Bada Jambe Ma Tonga Danjera Du Shivar Chimbe Ma Minju Bena Demba Shiva Chade Shera Je Paru Du Chimbe Ma Dayata Gade Gade Para Gade Para San Gade Budi Shari Bo Jandu Samba Samba Chambu De Da Shara Ke Paru Du Chimba Samola La Bara Chau Dene Jamende Tengen Se Dene Janju Samba Samba Chambu Baba Chire Se Wanju La Lesu Chawa Chen Lesu Reje Bu Dede Shenu Dede Shinde Jitara Chuke Temba Tera Je Paru Du Chimba Samba La Chebara Ishe Sheba Nanga Jesu Jirang Chongden Degi Degi Cheka Teta Demba Shari Dade Buddha Chanju Semba Semba Shembo Baba Jere De Wanchu Da Demche Da Dembe Toru De Lada Lada Nida Yigan Tisa Jebe Jide Yiran De Chongden Deji Sumba Ngomba
Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha, vultures speak together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena of profound illumination. And at the same time, the Navalavakalakadeshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature and being. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn to reach the graces from gone beyond? Thus he spoke in the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever sin that tells you of them wishes to follow the divine practice of the wisdom gone beyond, to look at it like this, and like the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formation, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristic. They are unborn and unseen. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, and emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karma formation, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no tongue, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times are relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequal and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that qualifies all suffering to be known as the truth, where there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. O Shariputra, this is our Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One grows from that concentration and prays the noble Avalokiteshvara. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like now. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the whole the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom come beyond.
어디서 드리는 사포고 아니 다 진짜지 진주 다 주주 그 줘봐 아니 달라 줘봐스 하고 치기 나니 지마 대시 자원을
And now it is Thursday, and we resume the way of the Bodhisattva. The way of the Bodhisattva, the title itself conveys two approaches. They are the way of the Bodhisattva, two topics, the Bodhisattva and their way.
약간 진주 전마다 나눠서 가르스나 강가로 볼다 탐지다 샘진 미니 집에다 샘진 간지 뭐 있나 양 아니 나눠서다 대화 승이지 되게 여바다 동해디 되게 매바디 근데 춘이 랑신 차대요 그래서
Every last sentient being, from the least to the greatest, is characterized by their desire for contentment and wish to avoid pain. This is universal of all.
딱 대화 우리가 톱당 여바대 가만 직받지냐 동해 세계 톱당 수강 직받지냐 여러분도 개발 여바 수강 개발 얘기들이 여 말해서
It is shared among all the equal right to contentment and the equal right to alleviate all pain.
근데 이래서 뭐다 대화 톱당 수수 온보다 빠는 대화 두배를 동해 세양 직받았다 대화 두는데 동해랑 신경 세도 그래 세상 대화대 수수 온보다 뒤에 대화 가도 전부 좀 두고 여바나시 동해야 되나시 세도 그래서
But individual are the methods for achieving that contentment, and individual and unique are the means for dispelling that pain. They are suited to each individual, the means for achieving contentment and the means for dispelling discontents.
딱 맞아. 선지에게 나는 초도 주고 강의 성질로 강의 배 공부이 나는 변형의 선지에 들을 때다 미 조미 조미 그래서 뭐다 개발도 파와 류 개발지 샘 개발지 어디든지 요래서
Now we among sentient beings are exceptional. We are the bipeds. We go on two legs and we are distinct from the other sentient beings, distinct and exceptional for our biological endowments, our physical body, and the native intelligence of that human body.
이 밀let 이야기 저도 가서 시리바 취업도 넘버 제바 시럽승이 다딩어 좀 밀려요 신발을 요 말해서 그거 신발 술라가 요 말해서
Unique to human beings is the native endowment of discriminating wisdom, capable of distinguishing between phenomena. This sets the human being, that is their native intelligence, sets them apart from all other sentient beings. None have this in common with the human being.
이제 이제 잡았다 좀 밀려 아니 취업도 남지 싫어 되기 아니 다음 선지 전달을 하고 가르치 두고 그랬어. 가르치고 그랬어. 어디서
With this exceptional native intelligence of the human being that sets it apart from other sentient beings, what more are they capable of achieving that other sentient beings are not?
근데 이제 좀 미때는 되게 맞을 취업도 남지 싫어 되기 내가 가르치기로 했으나 세딜라 레사네 세딜라 제부뇨 지투야 미바디 밀려요래서
대원용화.
일단
강우롱화.
제부
Hello,
제부 소문이 다 너도 동의니가 요와 이제 좀 세딜라 레사 세딜라 대원용에 대한 밀리테는 그래 세딜라 디버사 세딜라 동의용에 대한 미테는 요래서
The native intelligence of the human being allows them to accumulate their karmas in this life and then initiate the experiencing of those same karmas in this very same life. the accumulation of negative karmas and their painful results, the accumulation of positive karmas and their satisfactory results.
예, 디슨제 시발라 매버 인자다 좀 되게 최송도 최지 코르스 뒤제들라 최도 제를 뒤제들라 아니 밀어 최송서 인지미지 미대는 송고야 균세디 최년 때는 삼벌 때는 아니 그랑게 레게와사 되게 제부 아니 제딜라 용투야 유바 인자 대제는 미대는 최도 송사의 미대는 송고야
And for this very reason, the Bhagavan intentionally taught to human beings with their unique basis upon their listening, they are able to intentionally go out and accumulate positive karmas and then experience the result of those positive karmas in the very same life. For this reason, the Buddha Bhagavan taught to those of exceptional basis, the human beings.
Oh, 단다다 밀루고 나네 최접제상은 밀루식이 톱이야. 제가 대인도 밀루고 나네 자 제발도 밥에 밀루신다 그래서
아니 다주주예.
저저저요.
Among human beings, set apart among human beings are those with the precious human rebirth with its leisures and endowments. Even among human beings, such individuals with the leisures and endowments are exceptional.
예, 다만도 르된 디키니. 다만도 대화 두고요래. 대화 두벨라양. 대화 두벨 림바 망고 유베 나네. 다 초도 유바. 아니 대바치 비치 되게 나네. 아니 다 장주 센저에 림바. 어디를 럽고 유바 인도 다 대화 두벨 난 탑초도 유바디. 아니 다 말아서 요래 손으시.
Now, those with exceptional basis, the precious human rebirth of leisures and endowments would utilize it to engage in that very best method that is the Mahayana. And even within the Mahayana, the exceptional means that is the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. The great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment and the Bodhicharya Avatar, the way of the Bodhisattva, which present the sublime methods for the achievement of satisfaction and contentment in this life to these stages of the path.
Oh, the Indusamadan Mazu Tanda Dewa Gudan, that Tacho to Juba. And it that so Karis Mingmen Lame Karis, not Chanju with same knee. 장주 코웨게 자와 만화도 동해지 자와 쪄야게 다음에 또 배셔럽 생기대 주주나라 시기열에서 아니 만화도 배 간달 랑진 간달 탐지에 캠베 고마 토베게 바도 쪄봐 랑진 생기로 대양 아니 제 군조 장주 생기 어느 바 제고요 제가 니니가 동해기 자와 단진다 랑진 생이 대니라 갑자기 자니게 아니 다 자주고 선 군도 자주고 선다 전다 자주고 선 어디니가 먼저 퇴선 제냐네 지금 여가 인사 아니 먼저 탑초도 주바레스 고진제에서.
So the sublime method is described as the sublime method, for it is the method for confronting the causes for cyclic existence and its suffering, namely ignorance, the grasping at the ostensible but irreal self, and that which prevents omniscient awareness, that is biased self-interest. The antidote to the two, that which confronts and eliminates the two, are the wisdom realizing the absence of the irreal self, and the wisdom that abandons pathological self-interest, biased self-interest. The wisdom realizing these two, that is the development of the two forms of bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, are presented as the methods that are the sublime methods of the Mahayana.
근데 이래서마다 달랭 안조 밀루 되게 키네. 아니 다 안조 제투비아 가리요래 가르치고 그래서 다디 저 뒤니 나와.
Taking up this sublime human body and employing the methods available to it, What would one do, and why must one do just that? These two questions orient us as we address the text.
야, 다디나는 가담바 기시쪽을 가대 순거였으나 다들 특히 제도 대기 토릭 대화 당스 말한쪽을 대화가 나네 초도 주바디 토릭이 대화스 나 토릭 달바다 토릭이 대화스 이제와 대당 아니 다 동해기 나네 치쇼 예송의 동해 예송의 동해 여러 예송의 동해 야, 다 동해니부 동해 지당 대화니부 대 아니 달랭 안 하소라 그래서 대화도 고 동해도 고 수수그 담가 체하게 뒤져들 내버렸어. 그래서 다 뒤져들 내버린다. 담가 만원에서 치투하게 차지 열에 이나야 담가 만원에서 제국이 열에 소거지.
And so it is the Kadamba masters, the Kadamba adepts of old have a proverb. I have written it here, that the supreme form of contentment is heavenly bliss, and the most excruciating pain is the pain of the lower realms. And here is the moment, the crucial moment, where the choice is before you, to ensure your contentment or to assure your pain.
그래서 야, 대대 이들 다 말하죠. 다른 대화 중국의 유연한 다 대화가 나는 초도 주바디 다 하다 미 고반데 다 고반 도시 차대열에 뒤도 열에 동해 안에다 동해 치쇼 단 여와되네 이다되네 터도를 때다 동해님부터 근데 라나다 가르게 동해 토바치기 입에 대화 토바치기 입에 다 밤에 산삼도 내버려 제가 이두 잡아 다 달래는 주고 말한다고 삼 그게 측시버도 노 와서를 아주 공부라고 주고 공부라고 시바라고 주세 삼바스도 아니 셈 참모 어디 송제기 토네 아니 추 내주디 담가 말로바제 통화 제고래 통화 지시 앙신 랍제자래 소로지
Heavenly bliss is that contentment known in the heavenly realms and to human beings, and the pain of the hell realms is that excruciating agony of the hell beings and of the preta and of the animals. There is the greatest form of satisfaction in heavenly bliss and the most horrendous sort of agony for hell beings. Now we find ourselves at the moment where we are presented with the choice, whether we ensure our contentment in the future or assure the pain of the hell realms. And so it is before us then a choice, and the Kadamba masters present it to us in a proverb you have now before you, a choice whether to ensure contentment or to assure yourselves of great pain.
되게 세상 일이 들은 거랑 좋다. 배 고급 상보 뒤즈 양보 배단 간단 어저께 좀다 뒤즈도 맞으면 상쇼도 갈래 돼요. 세상 달랭 어저 니주 두루 맞고 니주 상으로 따야 탑시 차상 열에 세상 디 탄달 맞아 아니다. 최근시 제야디 강가로 아니다 니주 상부디 탄달 지기 열에 소로지.
No, the present moment is a moment of great opportunity. It's a moment of opportunity when the supports for practice are present to us. It allows us to ensure our greater fortunes to come, presented with a choice here. We have in our discussions of the Buddha Dharma the means for ensuring our contentment, and so our discussion of the Dharma is to that end.
Used
in this way, then the human body is not squandered. The human body is put to its use and made meaningful. So that then is the purpose, the reason for the Dharma practice. But then we turn our attention to what is it just that interferes with the practice, and so the relevance of where we are in the text.
동해양 무튼이 네 근데 never 친이 배랑함에 같이 수레스 다디 모두 제가 단달라 아니 가서 들어 오면나라 지금봐 세단 색소 자는지 강라라서 유미라 바자미야 지식다 지금에서 바사메야 지식다 아니 에다 기타 전시 제에서 그래서 는 스타마리요
Devo shinda rapkes, diyor.
이마디 강네
Digane, quando vanno che ci perché che ora narme ne girna.
어디 월
Let's konan yong girne.
어디 더도 마도
Quando dinde dava ne girne.
어디 마도 더도 가르 지지면 뭐도 때에 동안이 되면마다 뭐가 지지되 거기 네 subject도 니모고 라마에 같이 좀 시세도 라마에 같이 봐서 근데
너무 신이 되고.
그거는 탈다 라마에 같이 봐서 찍찍찍찍
알레는 칙칙니. 자기 심라 내신도.
이거 뭐
라마 메버체바. 세단 세서 라나니.
어디 그 생각이 장 봐.
맞아.
뭐 어디 라마에 같이 봐서 subject
네네네.
아니 세상 세서 다는 게 강라라서 유미다 빠단서 버튼이다 나게 해지 제에서도 그런 기가 뭐만 사비들
Then to introduce to introduce what it is that causes us to live unfree, that forces us into bondage perennially under the influence of mental afflictions. The 28th verse on page 57. Anger, lust, these enemies of mine are limbless and devoid of faculties. They have no bravery, no cleverness. How then have they reduced me to such slavery?
오야 다 되게 간다 난 라마에 맞아 니믹식이야 그래서 녀모가 생이 되겠다 교육 간대절에 거기 간대 니모들이 아니 아주 내가 간대 제기 여봐 라마에 간대 제기 유명 거기 대시적이 그래서
This is presenting to us the pitfalls and drawbacks of the mental afflictions. How is it that we are enslaved to them? And in just what sorts of ways do they cause us harm to present to us these pitfalls to mental afflictions? This verse.
올라서 나한테 대포스 잘해도 전주 고란 찍이 당고 시당서도 시당 색소 자는지 시당 색바 시당당 되자기 아니 잘 링때네 아니 that 시적이 어려서
And among the mental afflictions, anger is named and lust is named, and then they are called enemies that they are. Anger, lust, these enemies of mine.
오야 근데 이들도 뭐다 콜라 다우스는 어디도 유 네바진이들 다우스라고 왔다 지대기 지금 수술라 지 네바진이다 수술라 때 수술 마가와 수술 들으시기 전에 콜라 다우스라고 와 어디나신 니모 되게 니모 아니 되자다 세단도 때문에 소바되다 아니 만들었다 무튼 네바치기 요바이자 만들어 다우스 맹비 그저단계 열에서
Now, ordinarily, we call any person who harms us an enemy, any person we dislike an enemy, and now anger and lust and the mental afflictions are named our enemies because they continually harm us. And so anger, lust, ignorance, and the rest of the mental afflictions are known to be enemies.
오야 제자다 되자다 세단 되줄래 땅안줄래 콘졸라 지금 뇌 지야가니 배나가도 미 다도제메나 콜라야다 배 강라 강바다 라발라 소바 아니 지 바장스도 강 배나가줄라 뇌 지야 주 용걸 파도고 지고 파도 지야가 강바대 되자다 세단줄래 요 말레스 아니 지금 아줄라 쉬야다 파데 야 샤야다 파테야다 줄래야게 라고 거래 대한 여자가 세상에서 요마레스 어디지 숨다.
No, anger and lust and ignorance, mental afflictions, differently than ordinary enemies who must approach us, and they approach us on by legs, on their feet, and they retreat from us, and then they use their arms to tangle with us and then retreat from us. They are like warriors, the human beings who are enemies of ours. But anger, lust, and the mental afflictions have none of these. No hands, no legs.
야, 되게 생각하라 요마를 세리 가지고 유모돼서 간가 아니 수쟁 이제 많이 받지 시기 열에서 뭐지.
It says here then that anger, lust, ignorance, and the mental afflictions have none of these. No arms, no legs. They have no form.
야, 근데 지금 수바데 빠스에서 배야 하장이 배 또첨부 tumbu pe siu de yoba de pasa zangba su zama kada da jiko shubha chen mi ga zo ko da ye de yoro khashi keba de yan ko lo yomares.
They have no bravery. Bravery being courage and strength. A warrior's bearing. They have none of that. No cleverness. Cleverness is wiles. Cleverness is the ability to deceive through subterfuge. They have none of this.
야, 아니는 그 가지고 내가 간데시 그래. 저거 되거든. 여자다 세단 때문에 저거 간데시 그래서나 아주 딱 고조가 즉시바되게 대다 이따 진시 제스 유모 아주 탐지 유모되기 본으로 된 뭐만에 다다봐도 배 전혀나시 집에 두부지 두부다 배 강에 짱짱제 다다야 내 동해를 맞춰봐서 뭐만아야 동해 기업을 쳐봐. 근데 이제 딱 그거 먼저 안에 가데스 있는 거 지그레스 다 저어들 다 되게 내는데라네 다 먼저 빼들 다 빼나 먼저 빼나 지나도 본부도 즉 독자지 여봐이나 먼저 되게 요구 가서 있는 되게 될래야 라원 되게 말에 그러니까 태어나서 요구 누구 되기로 어디나시 여자다 제가 팀모디 저기 아주가 아니 파게다 간다 진다 독자 진다 삼번 년바 지어봐이나 그 요거들 기부 가도이 샤이 말아 어디나시 유모들 저기 맞으러 가도이네 배 동에 맛있게 받쳐가면 대화기가 고급적이야 말해서.
Without any of these, how is it then that they inflict the harm that they do and overpower us as they do? The fourth line answers to this. They keep us enslaved. How? Continuing to harm us. Just how? Just as the illustration is used, a slaver will enslave others. If they are malicious, if the owner is malicious, then whoever is their chattel then will never be allowed any moment's respite, never allowed any pleasure, always harmed, always injured. And so it is, the fourth line answers to this. How then have they reduced me to such slavery? It is that we are owned by mental afflictions and have no freedom from them.
야, 다 근데 이래서 다 맞고 유모도 저거 다 이미지 마신 유모도 뭐시야 보라 유모도 뭐 마시나 아니 유모도 이미지 신경 말해 유모도 이미지 마신 바이나 아니 유모도 방도 삼바도 계획 말해 제가 유모를 교연도 통으로 통화지도 하고 유모도 뭐시야 보고 해서.
This points out the awful drawbacks of mental afflictions with their drawbacks, their pitfalls, must be identified so that they may be repulsed, so that there may be a desire growing in the mind to finally abandon them. So then the picture of the mental afflictions as the slaver in such terms.
야, 이래서 맞다 나중에 동해에서 너무 제부 동해 규티바스 디버도 있어요 바이나 아니 제부 동해 영화 임바 거 규다 제부 차살 해서
Ah, ja, ich
yu tigbache, jibu dunge. Also, tigba di yoba ina jibu dunge yunga yinba ko nye sar kuni yunze re songs.
Where there is negative karma, non-virtue, then the consequence, suffering, is ensured. They are in a causal relationship, the non-virtue consequence being suffering.
Oh, yeah. 이제 좀마다 제부 동해디 아니 동해 되고요 말와 있는 동해 용고요. 아니 간데스 총알에스 나 좋아지지. 이제 좀마다 동해 수 중주발에서나 레다 유무니 원기 동해 라마가 용고요래서 말이지.
Pain and suffering is unwanted, but pain and suffering is what's experienced. Why is it so? Where there are non-virtues accumulated, then necessarily their consequence is pain, and so the causal relationship.
Oh, today 다 레드다 레디 주체 레디 주체 유무디 현지지 괜찮아요. 제가 레드 유무니 좀나 아니 동해 제 임바 레드 유무니 양도 마도나 아니 동해 제 두고 말해서
Karma and kleshas cause suffering. Karma is the substantial cause for suffering. The klesha, mental afflictions, are the conditions for that suffering. Where karma and klesha are present together, then of course, naturally, there is pain. But where they are decoupled, there will be no pain.
Oh, yeah, that did not Judy led candy, new mode chasson, new mode, pa pangshana, new mode pa meva sweshana, any lady, Jebu to get to your maresons.
Now, when karmas are the cause and klesha are the conditions, if the conditions are eliminated, then that substantial cause, nevertheless, will never cause its result, and there will be no pain of those negative karmas.
Oh, yeah, petty values, no? Land that sabens, also the Shingata bag Sunday, and the Godona to call the Tudor Martina, and Sunday, New Wiki Marawas. How come Marty on the Shingana top to the new Tudor look, level, and a new wiki to attend she, Sunday later. Tudor lose and you want to have yours. Then soon the Tudor lose the tail, new wiki and what Martina. To
illustrate this, the metaphor of the seed is given. A seed without water, nutrients, and heat will not germinate. The seed is karma. But when the seed is planted in a fertile field where there is water and there are nutrients and there is heat, those being the seed's conditions for growth, likened to the klesha, then there will be germination. So where there is the conditions in the klesha for the karmas, then the karmas will result in their pain.
Oh yeah, that's that you move it to table and that for the new mode chair, you move it so done and later you would give it. Suddenly, you will give an asile later, the body sena, and you would make your cigarettes.
And so, where karmas meet with conditions in their klesha, then the meeting germinates. And if the karma is negative karma, a non-virtue, then that fruits as pain.
Oh, yeah, that to make your mazan, that to make a chimbo, to make part of the jorwa, cigarettes.
Not mere pain, but if the karma is significant, then excruciating pain.
Oh, yeah, that's your subject is out of the what's on. Like someone nation to Gabuda, nature. Hella, me to Subani, name is Subana. Name it next.
Then one will meet with innumerable suffering. Verse 29, they dwell within my mind, and at their pleasure injure me, and this I suffer meekly, all this I suffer meekly, unresenting, thus my abject patience, all displaced.
오야 다다기 섬다 내신 두고 다기 섬스 수고 셈데 내신도 가린내 봐서나 유모 되자 세상 공동아 예 말이 또 사회 유모도 예 유모 먹고 여러 거 되게 라는 섬나가 셈데 가서 유모도 대사기 내가도 차대요 그래서 그렇지.
They dwell within my mind, each one of us, ourselves, our minds, they dwell within my mind, they being the mental afflictions. Where the mental afflictions reside is the mind itself. It is like their accommodations, and they are many, they are root afflictions and secondary afflictions. These are they.
오야 내신도 아니 가고를 달아 내체 봐서 가고를 달아 가고를 쓰면서 다 거기 대박 강변하면서 수술을 강변하는 직박에 수술 내배진이 지역에나 거기 강변하는 용네 그 대박 강의 권한이 배 밀은 내배제고 내배제 좀 키고 권한이 가는 배우선은 태만하지 제버저와 어디는 가고를 제봐서 가고를 돈에 아니 맞으러 내 제봐서 내 제봐서 제산타 맞고 가르쳐서 셈나는 유무 대다기 아니 수술 기내 영화기내 매봐 그런 쪽을 가리배 지구의 이유가 차상 제는 수술을 내가 지기 어려서
They dwell within my mind and at their pleasure injure me. At their pleasure injure me. That means for us, though it's no intention of ours, under their sway, just as an invader in our homes can do whatever they will, they do whatever is their whim, if it's to hurt us, to abduct us, whatever the case may be, they do it irregardless of our desires. And so it is in the mind, the mental afflictions allow us no freedom, and so the line, and at their pleasure injure me.
오야 제자당도 너가 진이기 고라기 배 간다 여바 맞어 봐도 너가 제주 받으려지 제 팔레마데니 샤샤바이나 아니 거기 너가 배 세매가 지기로 와 대난시 아니 말아도 셈나로 유모도들로 하춘에 갑대준에 맞아봐제 아니 고랑도 가리 제와도 제주바이나 아니 만족이 배 동에 빠도 매봐 연구해야 되겠지 자기를 해서
All this I suffer meekly, unresenting. If one allows an invader, if one lets them be, concedes all to them, relinquishes all to them, then that harm that they will inflict upon one will be continuous, though it will have no end, because one has not confronted the invader and one has already ceded the ground to the invader.
그 숨바디기 아니 디스가 헬라 메트로 서바니 헬라 메트로 맞지만 메트로가 서바 제바이나 아니 서바 제바디 된 서바레스 네 많이 배 서바레스 제가 디 서바 고마디 아니 네 많이 배 서바레스 네 알디지 송지한다.
Thus my abject patience, all displaced, abject in the sense of being pointless. That is, this sort of patience is not constructive, and this abject patience is all misplaced.
오야 그 서바네 많이 배 서바스 배나 먼저 뒤주 먼저 지된 용다로 안 들었다 수수가 마가와 수수를 좀 마가와 진이 아니 산 너바 진이 유나 콜라 드라스레 또 콜라 서바 공부하지 냠내는 서바 공부하지 시기 열와서 콜라 서바 공부이나 아니 먼저 냠내다 라기 레 타바다 디바 타바다 동에 타바겠다 냠내기 내 시기 열와서 이나야 단단 먼저 유목 내 되더라 서바 공부이나 아니 냠내디 용야 열어서는 이 용야 열마 비미 되고 말해서
Patience misplaced, pointless patience. This would be different from the patience that is advised for us to practice toward our adversaries in the ordinary sense, those who dislike us apparently and harm us. we are encouraged to be patient with such adversaries as a practice that purifies us of our negative karmas. This is the counsel, the advice, isn't it? However, that is patience rightly placed and practiced, but patience towards mental afflictions is misplaced. The patience of non-retaliation, that patience toward the adversary with their limbs, who use those limbs to harm us, toward such adversaries, patience is recommended. And patience of non-retaliation toward those adversaries is the practice of patience, in fact. But patience for mental afflictions is not the practice of patience. It is a different matter altogether. Ordinarily, the adversary, that harm doer, who's harmed us, who's injured us, there's a measure of the harm done to us. There's no measuring the harm done to us by mental affliction. And ordinarily too, no matter how vicious the violence toward us, it may be measured in the duration, in its kind. It may be beatings, at its worst it may be murder, but there's nothing worse than that, murder. The injury to us by klesha, mental afflictions, is immeasurable. It began in beginningless time and has continued forcing us into the experience of agony after agony continuously, where there hasn't been an antidote applied to the klesha, the mental affliction. The pain is continuous, it is intense, and it is various, and it is immeasurable. And so this adversary, the mental afflictions, the klesha, are called enemies of mind. Now here, anger is named first. In the Abhidharma, the klesha are described in their sequence of arising, in their order. They begin then with desirous attachment, followed by aversion, followed by the rest, including doubt.
예, 따뜻해 이제 좀 유무 땅도 되자 되자들 지당기 지기 되자다 아니 제자도 되자는데 그 뜻이야 요래서.
Regarding desirous attachment, there is the general description of desirous attachment and particular characteristics of desirous attachment.
예, 따 되자 지기 진입이 가르스나 지당기 되자생도 책한데 시작으로서나 그 관계와 인하여 셈라도 마시고 제백이 로시나 아니 되자스 민다 그래서.
Now, generally, desirous attachment is defined as that which perturbs the mind.
예, 그 지기 전에 맞다 그 유무 되 다들 지워제 다 수수그 증이로 샤와이나 아니 다 오케이 다 단단한 시야 될다 유무고 나는 시야들 사회 유무 다 아니 유무 지기
Desirous correction by the interpreter. Not the general definition of desirous attachment. The general definition of mental affliction is that which perturbs the mind.
어디래? 다 유무 수수고 증이 마샤요데 아니 단단하다 다다 지난 시당 한번 망고 요리네 당도 사회 유무 툭스 모반의 시당 마시 전에 사회 유무 툭스 당가지는 당고 되자 시기 예소나.
Then the particular definitions of mental afflictions begin with the definition of desirous attachment. There are 6 root mental afflictions, and that list begins with desirous attachment, following from the Abhidharma presentation.
예, 다 되자 강 도자스나 가래 되자 강 세나스 컴숨베 제수 잡에 동행 제버시베 레젠스 컴숨이라 소수면 더바 컴숨나 제수 잡에 동행 제버 지세게 되게 넘버 제제나 아니 다 되자스나 그래서
양예치스나?
컴숨나 제수 잡아 컴숨나 제수 잡에 동행 제베 레젠스 동행 제버 지세게 제버 지세게다 넘버 제제 동행 제버 지세게 제가 아니 되자스.
In the Abhidharma, the definition of the mental affliction, desirous attachment, is in the
제수 차가를 컴
어디죠? 감성을 제수 잡아라.
제수 차가 제수 차네 아니 그 이게 제가 되게 넘버 제제라 아니 되자스나.
That attached to any of the 3 realms which produces pain is the definition in the Abhidharma of the mental affliction, desirous attachment.
야, 다 되게 뭐 거는 다 사제지 배나데 코란기 바 mikba도 가르쳐 사제기로 사제지 뭐라기 뭐 거는 이도 원 통내 대전도 녀와 심중 그 친이도 자 친이도 돼 사제지 뭐라서 이네 아니 대 이도 원 통내 대전도 녀와 대 지금 심지라 심중 스민다 그래서
심중으로 The mental factor, desirous attachment, is the with object with contaminated, any contaminated phenomena as object of awareness, the mind that is desirous of achieving just that object is the afflicted mental factor of desirous attachment.
Dice, that the pedi country or sena, and a pedi delicious, real numshubas, or to roll num covenation. It is to quote the wo, any quote quotana by young cows, but can't call up the jadi truth. Real numshutana and copachi can't talk how we wrote in Nashi. 모두 제차나 안에 다 까와요. 어디든지 빼자려 response.
To illustrate desirous attachment is likened to oil in a cloth. The stain of a drop of oil in cloth is not easily removed. After the stain is in the cloth, the oil is difficult to purge. This is the metaphor illustrating desirous attachment.
that bed the bed or the 20 rangi dejadiga rangi mibala shengi shene and delaba chene miba teda treka or seba ches look about ni kaga chesba chene miba teda treka or seba ina ko bedi jargo resum.
The illustration is apt for desirous attachment, desires to remain in contact with its object, and therefore it becomes difficult to separate the fixated mind from the object of its desirous attachment as fixation.
That dejadele yawa kariyasna comes with the debe come debe deja. 아니 수고 되자 소매 되자 숨 감숨고 되자 숨쉬고 그래서
Desirous attachments divisions are desirous attachment of the desire realm, desirous attachment of the form realm, desirous attachment of the formless realm.
오야 삼성 가시 빼자 가지나 되베 되자다 시베 되자스리 니자니 여러서
Some texts distinguish between desire realm, desirous attachment, and desirous attachment of existence.
오야 다 되자기 첼레 근데 저래서나 동해께 받으래서 되자리 것도 그런 첼레디 아니 계산이 동해께 받쳐야 되래서.
The function of desirous attachment is to produce pain. Where desirous attachment arises, its consequence is necessarily pain.
오야 다 동해께 받쳐야 돼. 그래서 시베 동해 탐지지 싸워치 그래서.
And how is it so? Desirous attachment is the very root of pain in cyclic existence.
오야 싸워치단 그래서 시베 니섬죠. 시벌은 니섬 저래야 돼. 니섬 전에 아니 겨울에마다 강가 진입이 주의조디 되자 차별을 제가 시베 싸웠다 그래서.
이제 보규 아니 니섬저 아니 니섬 저렇게
니섬다 얼마 니섬 저리 저러 니섬 잡을 저 주의조디 되자 차별을 하잖아. 그걸 시베 싸웠습니다 그래서.
Desirous attachment is described as root of cyclic existence, for it is what ensures transmigration, the transmigration caused by the bondage at the moment of the arising of desirous attachment.
that's 아니 생중만 비슷하게 나가네. 마게다 저 표시를 되듯이 개발 연구를 해서.
We'll elaborate more on desirous attachment in the context of the root mental afflictions.
다 먼저 전중 들어야 대체 아니 먼저 심중 들어야 대시나요.
Now, this concludes then the section on the way of the Bodhisattva, and we'll pick up again now with a continuation of the mental factors.
다 심중 들어야 먼저 비와 군중아체 유행아가 나는다 숨바 잡아셔야 되거든요.
Now, in the minds of mental factors, we have covered the five omnipresent mental factors, and now are discussing the 5 objects with a determinate object, and of these 5 objects with 5 mental factors with determinate object, aspiration, resolution are behind us, and now we turn our attention to mindfulness.
오예 쳔바다 쳔바시에데 쳔바싱데 쳔베 주카레스나 쳔베 주디다 신도 그바 아니 쳔바라니 쳔버 쳔바 쳔바라니 쳔버 쳔바 말랑 디베 유디솔라야 유딘도 윤다 수수고 쳔바 쳔야드 가스나 말유 통화다 퇴바 근데 레볼라 소바 대다 아니 마제버스 야 쳔바들 해소나지
The function mindfulness, the cause of mindfulness is great appreciation, and only objects with which one has developed prior familiarity can induce mindfulness. Therefore, objects that one has heard, one has seen, etc., may induce mindfulness.
오예 디 당도 공도는 진주 공도 아버지 진주마다 제시시월로 러뷰 가지 러뷰나나 디치도 지로 제발레 참바신도 고발레 좀 제송바다 참바기웨시 유신양 알다디 자디데 달다디시 다지 참바기야가니 유신바 가와시아스나 제시시월로 진주나나 라마탄의 드로바탄 캠보지에서 템바탄 지바 켄딘 제바타 타마니의 고바시스 오 제산 라마 템바치 조 랑고 조다 캠보다 아니 이제 최제수 템바 아니 지베 켄딘 고바 제바 템바 달라도 기베 주들이 장가게 하려고 소문이다.
The scriptural support is drawn from Shantideva's compendium of training and verses, which says mindfulness arises from great appreciation. Other causes for mindfulness are found in the way of the Bodhisattva, which lists, owing to accompanying their teacher, following their guru's instructions, and out of fear, those fortunate ones who practice with respect easily generate mindfulness. Mindfulness arises from companionship with the virtuous friend, listening closely to the instructions taught by the learned master, having a sense of shame and fear of being reproached by others, and respecting the holy person's advice.
Oh yeah, 당보되게 라마탄의 도바탄 교회신이다 도바 식탄도 아니 캠보 담바탄 제수 템바 녀바스니도 아니 모자 셰바다 신지 매 도베 지보다 템바 개와다 템베 간사기 라발로 구벌 쳔바서 어디 시가샤도
Shimai. Owing to accompanying their teacher, there's one, following their guru's instruction, another, out of fear, another, those fortunate ones who practice with respect, another, easily generate mindfulness. Here we have these four causes.
Oh yeah, that tembe ngod karesna chambasingidi ngod karesna maru jibe yula mingnes randobji yude mejebar zimbe lejenjela lejengi simjujela and chambasla gore.
The definition of mindfulness is a mental factor that, focusing on an object to which there has been previous familiarization, prevents the forgetting of it by its own power.
Objects
with which one would be familiar already are any objects of the five sense faculties.
Oh yeah, better 가르치잖아. 말 충두수 집에 파마다 빈체다. 근데 랑 저벌로 써봐도 쳔바다고 스페들이 자샤.
An example given is mindfulness that recollects one's parents and siblings with whom one has been familiar since earliest childhood.
Oh yeah, the imba도 콩도 가도 뭐 군도 공다셔. 쳔바 간신의 집에 뭐 셈지 제바 매버 때 세송.
Scriptural support then from the compendium of knowledge, which says, what is mindfulness? It is a mental factor that prevents the mind from forgetting the familiar thing.
Oh yeah, that 쳔바라는 기주 숨다 땜바지고 고여를 숨다시.
Mindfulness has three distinguishing qualities. It must.
죄송합니다. Oh yeah, 유지 제발 집에 뭐 보지 직제. 남배 제발 유대를 믿네. 제바 매바 제바제
첼레지 제벌 아니 셈 율라 넘버 메요 제바 제바 당사 셈 미발로 규도 땜을 제바 어디서래 손으시
The mindfulness has three distinguishing qualities. The distinguishing quality of its object, it is a familiar thing. The distinguishing quality of its aspect, not forgetting the object that it is focused on. The distinguishing quality of its function, it prevents the mind from being distracted from the object and serves as the basis for the mind to remain continuously on that object.
오예 대항아르 디바 라자 템바 메제웨 유체벌 젠라 디베 옹보시 가서 됐어 그랬어 대양세 나르 마디바다 템바 메제와 나르 유디 통화도 펴받는데 맨날 거 템바게 요 말에세 직세로 유체벌 디베 옹보시 당사 그냥 말 디장 다들 로이 유도 마샬나 챔벌 민주회 나베 챔벌 레 셈지 제바 메바스 어디 말통 유 공부 디사교 공부 저러와 말 셈기 통화도 쳐봐 되면은 제바 제야 매 직세 디 사회 공부 들어라 양 단다 삼로나 제 차이나 아니 고쳐 받지야 요 말이지. 어디서 다그 대수도 막 나를 통화 임바. 단단한 거 맞아봐지 전대 봐. 들리지 보고요. 그래서
Furthermore, since mindfulness does not arise if there is no prior familiarity, the distinguishing quality of the object is called the familiar thing. That is, there must be prior familiarity with an object, any object of the five sense faculties. There must be prior familiarity. Without it, there may be no mindfulness. And since mindfulness does not arise if the familiar thing does not appear as an object to the mind right now, the distinguishing quality of the aspect is called the mind's not forgetting. Therefore, where the object has already been forgotten, there may be no continued mindfulness. The object must appear to the mind right now for there to be mindfulness.
오야 다 템바 체벌 젠라 때네 심 공도 페벌 주에 첼레지 체벌 메요 체베 레제노 소지
And since the mind will become increasingly stable in dependence on mindfulness with these qualities, the distinguishing quality of the function is called the function of non-distraction.
도제다 디레도 단대디 가지고 갔다 저레 개월 전에 빼자는 시로다 레 미개월이야 아니 템바게 여바 송요래서
Now, up to this point, we have been focused on mindfulness as a virtuous mental factor, but there is too mindfulness as non-virtuous mental factor.
오야 템바게와 미개월 때는 템바게와 때는 미개회 들어가다 템바게 미개회 미바 제 됐고 템바 잠레서 미개회 미바 제베 레제 많이 발라 미개회 쟁의지 녀모버티 랑도지 템베 나바 쟁이 셈 미개회 레스로만 제베 제레진 달리 겨도 나긴 잘 셔지다
Texts such as clarifying the meaning of the treasury of knowledge mention that there are non-virtuous instances of mindfulness. They say that non-virtuous mindfulness, by its own power, merely recollects an afflictive object, but does not cause a virtuous object to be forgotten.
오예 다시 라유 제범메 템베나 템바스 다시 라유 제범메 템베이다 템바스
On the other hand, the non-virtuous factor of forgetfulness, by its own power, can either recollect an afflictive object or cause a virtuous object to be forgotten. To explain the etymology of the term, it is called mindfulness because it is mindful in not forgetting its object.
어야 템베 칠레니 미발레 셈셴도 미용 제바 일라사 어디서
The function of mindfulness is to prevent movement of the mind away from the object and towards something else.
어예 나디 공도 생도 손다 남바 때나베 도로 지장도 디스는서
And the compendium of ascertainment is given for scriptural support to the effect that what function does mindfulness have? It functions to recall the memory of what one has thought, done, and said a long time ago.
어예 다 템발레 예나 아니 뒤에 쇼는 셈지 템발레 요 뒤에 쇼들 셈지 삼바 템바 류지 제바 템바 나지 마와 템바 숨송도
From the point of view of recalling things thought of, actions done, and words spoken long ago, it functions to prevent movement of the mind away from the object. When mindfulness is categorized, there are three divisions: being mindful of the mind's thoughts, of the body's deeds, and the voice's utterances.
어예 대 템베 대부 미남 미제바 템발라 때네 라유를 찌지도 되게 띵에 진당 수수도 베시라비 윤데 탐제 랑이 줄라 권의 권도 배워 어떠셔
The effects of mindfulness are, in reliance on mindfulness that does not forget the object, there is an ever greater increase within one's own continuum of all the qualities of concentration, single-pointedly placed on its object, and of wisdom engaged in fine investigation.
어예 잡았다 되지 아니 되는 대시 아마한테 저거 되고 지금 이렇게
Now we'll conclude here for now. I'm actually a bit sick to my stomach and I must use the restroom. So allow me 5 minutes or so and I'll be back. So instead of Shire today, I'm gonna.
Last time you said something about being mindful, thought, deed, and something.
And spoken utterance, I think. Yeah, spoken utterance. Yeah, the voice's utterances. The voice's utterances. Voices, expressions, spoken expression.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but just one other, it's just the questions are on the source of the Shantideva thing that you were mentioning at the beginning. Where it
Yeah.
gives the list of like listening, shame, fear, companionship with virtuous friends. What is the what is the source of that? But that was the Bodhicharya. Was it something else?
Owing to accompanying their teacher, following their guru's instruction and out of fear, those fortunate ones who practice with respect easily generate mindfulness. That one? That's from the way of the Bodhisattva.
It is.
Yeah.
Did he say the verse?
He didn't number the verse. I don't remember which it is either. It's probably in the mindfulness chapter.
I thought so, but I just didn't know. Hmm. Yeah, Charlotte, can you repeat like a keyword or two, because she has a visual.
Sure. Owing to accompanying their teacher, following their guru's instructions, and out of fear, those fortunate ones who practice with respect easily generate mindfulness. Solo tanga.
China, I think Krishna is not doing well. Maybe we should end on.
Đây là chàng shaga. Ici anh test những sự tên tên đồ ta. Anh sang là gì đó. If you have a question, we can take a question, and if there are no questions, then we can close with prayer.
I just didn't catch the second quality of mindfulness aspect.
Chilisum number sum drangswa. Nipadigare. The distinguishing quality of its function, the distinguishing quality of its aspect, not forgetting the object that it is focused on.
아니 전부 걸 가게 시에요. 전부 이것도 시에요. 이제는 시에 좋아졌어. 근데 아주 말한테 아니 저도 제가 요거는 그래서
Bring any questions that you might have again next week, and we can address those questions, and we'll continue with more with mindfulness. A bit remains to be explained yet, and then so bring those any questions you have again next week.
Hello, I have a question.
So my stomach's a bit upset. Lunch didn't sit well with me, and so then if we wrap up a bit early, then that would be helpful. We'll close with the prayers then. No.
Enerindo belefoni kada yamba se saba lome mare non trova nande jave on pada gire ema sinde zingang kunduya jange yanje zewe zezon tebe rumwa kuzan yeso Nine Ruben Diana Nijeso Rage Shishin Kobin Angele Shura Zewe Jode Tande Roe Yigam Pasajene Yawe Tama Yudin Denjunji Temba Rinchin Todin Majo Chagyan Yamba Yube Chode
from my two collections, vast and space that I have amassed, from working with effort in this practice for a great length of time, may I become the peace leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my life. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teaching, and may I please all the Buddhas by practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong first compassion, may I clear the darkness from the mind of all beings. With the point of the path of life discernment, may I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teaching have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may after this treasure of happiness wait also the image. May the blind minds of those who wish for liberation be granted deathless peace, and the Buddha's seeds be nourished for a long time, by following the complete forever of the and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things easier so correct on the actual path, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path raised by the Buddha. Whenever someone makes it good, in accordance with the tenfold mile and virtuous practice, may he always be assisted by the mighty one. May oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Gage
Jinye Save Gyawandi, Tendon Roa, Yevara Jekam Bofan, Yeve Yambora, the station, Vare, Gawe, Poroe, Chinkandi, Penda, Dewa, Madu, Jumpe, Chere, Sewan, Tenzing, Gasoye, Shave, Site, Varadu, Tengere, Jumbo, Mawoy, Jida, Gimbala, Kundu, Zombo, Deyan, Dejende, Deda, Guge, Jexon, Dalovish, Yawan, Deda, Tanje, Radu, Kuzum, Jive, Yawan, Tanje, Moan, Ganga, Sudu, Mahonda, Dai, Gawe, Sawan, Tiganga, Zambo, Shishil, Radu, Mohorge, Janjo, Zenjo, Rinpoche, Magi, Pan, Gigiriji, Yapa, Yapa, Merume, Bondu, Bondu, I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings, the Venerable Lozan Drapa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful and resistant Gyatso, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra do, realizing that they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication for Jesus the best, by the victorious those gone 1, 2, and 3 times, so that I might perform the noble bodhisattva deed. May the supreme jewel of Bodhisattva that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Thank you.
May we dedicate whatever virtues that we have accumulated from listening to the Buddha Dharma teaching given by Geshe-la to Geshe-la. We would like to dedicate all of these to Geshe-la, and we pray that he will be well soon. Please take your time and rest.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Tadi ani gewa ani sabadi ani bolo gisi la yar push ayo ani gisi ani nasa gyobo on travel ani mendunyo.
That is teaching Maranatha, Halates, the Tanzimanti with 27.
No big deal. Just what I ate isn't sitting well with me.